just as an aside, to remember to keep your camera off and to keep yourself muted unless we call upon you. If you have questions during this session, please type them into the chat bar on the right. With us this afternoon, I have Mr. Don Bianchi with PIDOR, who is going to do a presentation on the state updates of tax law for us. And I also have Alicia Gauntz with him, and they are going to work together to make this presentation a success. So Don, I'm going to ask you to please introduce yourself a little bit and then begin the presentation.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Don Bianchi. I'm with the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue. I've been with the department since 2005. Prior to coming to the Department of Revenue, I was with the State Treasurer's Office, and the last job that I had with the State Treasurer's Office was auditing the Department of Revenue to make sure that they were doing things efficiently, effectively, and so on and so forth. So in 2005, Revenue asked me to come on board to help them instead of pointing out all of their mistakes and everything that they were doing wrong. So I took that assignment, and since I've been with the Department of Revenue, I've been in charge of personal income tax and property tax rent rebate processing, which has probably been an item that has caused you a lot of angst and pain over the years. For that, I will slightly apologize. I've worked as the taxation manager for the Bureau of Motor and Alternative Fuels for about a year and a half. And then the department decided to put me in charge of the Customer Experience Center, which I am the director of currently. And this level of involvement that I have with you now and what I do for the department is running the customer service and collections call centers, running the internal employee training and the external customer outreach segment, which is what we are doing here today. So I am now in charge of a lot more stuff that causes you pain and anxiety. I like to do my seminars more open. I know you guys have had Dave Braden for a number of years, and Dave and I have worked together since 1993. And Dave was a truly phenomenal person. Him and I do our presentations very differently. I like to answer questions while I'm going through. That way it comes as a point when it's relevant. I will gladly talk to you about anything that I can talk to you about and share as much insight into why the department is doing something and in the directions that we are going. I will tell you right now, there are not a lot of tax law changes this year. There are not a lot of form and instruction changes because we are going through a period where we are integrating our tax systems, and I'll talk about that later, but we have a lot of different things going on, so there are not a lot of changes. So this is a great opportunity for you to ask questions and for getting some of the answers that you may want or need. So before we begin, does anyone have any questions about me or my background? All right. Let's start off with what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you information on some general updates, talking about our modernization effort, resources that are available to you and your coworkers. I'm going to talk to you about personal income tax updates, property tax and rebate updates, and I'm going to talk to you about fraud detection and analysis that we are doing. Which I know you may be saying, hey, the fraud detection analysis isn't something that we're overly worried about, but I want to explain to you what we're doing and why we're doing it and how it is a benefit to you and your clientele. All right, so let's start into the general updates. The first item I want to do is remind all of you that starting with the 2020 tax year, you were required as part of changes to Act 13 of 2019 to put your PTIN on every PA-40 return that you are preparing. This law change of part of Act 13 allows us to impose an administrative penalty of $50 on tax returns that a preparer fails to sign. I apologize. I forgot to shut my phone off, my cell phone. So I will apologize for that one. So let me just drop it on the floor so it's away from me. So it's a $50 fine for every return that you refuse to sign, and that penalty is capped at $25,000 per year. Now, I'm going to assume that all of you have a PTIN number that you're using, so this isn't anything that I think is a problem for you or your coworkers. But again, I wanted to make sure that we brought this up.
John, we need to bring something else up.
Well, I see it says, I can see the chat and it says, please define what a PTIN is. ARP uses SIDNs, which I'd never heard of an SDIN before. I'm assuming it's very similar to the PTIN. It's the number you use when signing the return for electronic transmission.
It's the site identification number.
That is perfectly fine.
And then we have a generic PIN for all volunteers is 98765.
That is perfectly fine.
Okay.
That has not changed from that aspect. Again,
Great.
I don't know, forgive me, that I don't think we're going to go out and start to find ARP, but you never know in a budget crunch what ends up happening or what the system actually accidentally starts kicking out. So use of your SIDN and your site number is perfectly fine. Like I said, just a reminder we wanted to put out there for everyone that this was going on. And also realize a lot of this presentation is a redo of other presentations that we've done. So there may be some other things that don't fully encompass everything you guys do or deal with, but we want to make sure you have the information in case the customers that are coming in are asking about it or the people that you're training ask it or have questions. The next item that we have is one of those items. I don't know how much you guys deal with appeals, but we wanted to make sure that you are aware, just in case, that the Board of Appeals is continuing to hold hearings virtually. This practice was really effective during the pandemic, and they wanted to keep this into place. Board orders are going to be issued electronically via email. We encourage you to file online, as the fax methodology and email are no longer accepted. Again, not something that I think you deal with much in ARP, but it may happen. So we wanted to make you aware that these practices have changed. And information about all of this is in the materials that we have provided you as part of the seminar today. Does anybody have any questions on appeals? All right. The next item is also something that happens post your preparation of the return, but it's the Treasury Offset Program. Last year, we had stopped the Treasury Offset Program with the IRS because of the pandemic and because of our implementing our new tax system. This year, we did bring this program back. So when some people are coming in to have their return prepared by you, they will have, some of them may have received a letter saying that we are going to offset any refund that they're getting in 2021 to pay a balance that was due to the department for a prior tax year. We wanted to make sure you guys were aware that we are starting this back up. By the time they come into you with this letter, it's going to be past the 60 days that they had to respond to the notice. So once that return is filed, and if they are getting a refund, we are going to offset that with the IRS. We would just ask that you encourage them when they get this letter in the future, if they did not respond to the department or do what we have in the what you need to do part of the notice, that you just remind them that they really do need to respond to the department in a timely manner if they get these notices. Let me ask the question, and if you can show me in chat, do many of you have people coming in with notices that they received in the prior year that they didn't respond to? Is that something that ARP runs into? Thank you, Pat. Okay. So I see This truthfully, this is absolutely great that you guys don't have this problem. Remember, we are repurposing a lot of this from presentations that we do with tax professionals across the state. And again, I apologize if I'm not going to cover it exactly the way Mr. Braden has in the past, but I promise you we will get better at this as I learn more about everything you guys are dealing with. And I'm hoping to have a discussion with this afterwards, if we have time to talk about the different things that are going on and what you need from us in the future. All right, the next item that I'm going to talk about is the special forgiveness tax credit. Notice, we think this is going to drive customers to you and your area in some regards. I do not know how many sites ARP has throughout the state, but I will let you know that the letter that you see on your screen is being sent out to approximately 15,000 Pennsylvania residents. That is letting them know that they may be eligible for special tax forgiveness and they did not apply, which basically, as most of you will probably understand, means that they never filed a tax return with us. So we're trying to reach out to them to get the money that they are due into their hands. So you may see people coming in with a letter like this that is explaining what they need to do. The letter itself directs them to go to a revenue district office or to go to our MyPath online filing feature. We did not want to put down to go see ARP or other places because we didn't know exactly the demographics of the people that we were sending these messages out to. We have a general idea, but we don't know truly what their ages are in most regards. So we made a very generic letter to tell them where to go and where to find information on our website. Now, we do realize that this will drive some people towards you. We thank you very much for what you're doing for the demographic of customers that you serve for Pennsylvania. But does anybody have any questions on this or where our outreach is going? And I'm assuming, can I ask a question? What software is ARP using?
We use TaxSlayer Online.
Okay. So it will have everything in there as always. And truthfully, let me also just say right now, again, with thanking all of you, truly in the entire time I've been with the Department of Revenue, you and your ARP membership helping out us has been one of the least problematic groups that we've dealt with in tax preparation. And that made coming up with information to talk to you guys about a little bit more difficult than it is just the average professional. So great job to you and all of the people that you train out there and that you have working for you. All right, if there's no questions on SP, we will move forward, but you know that this is happening. The reason why we're bringing this up is because of stuff that we're going to talk about in the next two segments, and I'll expand on that here in a second. So we are also placing automated phone calls on various items from the department. During the pandemic, we had a point where a lot of people forgot who the Department of Revenue was. I don't blame them in some cases. They didn't have to deal with us. We were not going out after as many items as we were previously. Tax return processing had slowed a little bit. So we have a little bit of time frame and a little bit of a hiatus where nobody is really seeing us or hearing from us. We had a small issue with, because of a lot of people closing down businesses, income shortages, fluctuations in the normal income that they received, and so on. People had filed returns for the 2020 tax year, but they did not pay the balances that they claimed as due. Again, I don't know how many returns the ARP sites prepare that owe taxes. This may not be something you need to worry about, but I want to make sure you are aware of it just in case anybody comes in and asks a question as a new client. So when a person files a return and shows a balance due, an item that they have self-assessed, but they did not make a payment, before we started to send the billing notices out this year, we actually started to just call and place a automated call reminder stating that, hey, you filed your return, but you did not make payment. Please check your tax records. And if you see that as the case, please make the payment to the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue, and kind of just left it at that. Now, again, if anybody comes in and talks to you about this, if you can tell them that yes, the Department of Revenue is doing this, that they would just still go through their normal payment methods, either using our new MyPath site from our website, or they mail the coupon and payment in just like you had told them to, and that maybe they forgot. Please just remind them that to make their payments on time, and that these calls may come out and that they are not scams. And the website for MyPath is mypath.pa.gov. It's very simple, very easy to find right from our website. And again, there's information about all of this in the materials that we have provided you guys. Now, again, the reason I've talked about these last two things is because there's constantly scams going on out there trying to take money from people. And the elderly people are victims of a lot of this. I know this because I actually know a person who, from my hometown, that got swindled by a scammer who called in and said, hey, your grandson has been arrested. You need to send us $5,000 so that we can put him out on bail. She actually did that. They called back, asked for another $5,000, and she sent another $5,000 and lost at least $10,000 from these scammers. So they are targeting elderly people. They're targeting anybody and everybody that they can get their hands on. And there were a lot of new places doing the tax scams. It may be the same places, but they're using different addresses, phone numbers, and different names nowadays. But we want to talk to you about those scams, but also let you know what we're doing so that if somebody's asking specifically about those items from the Department of Revenue, you know that they are not scams. And at any point in time, anyone can contact the Department of Revenue and ask questions about the notifications that we've sent out. Now, the scam letters that are going out all have 800 numbers on them, okay? They're going from the Hardship Tax Forgiveness Organization, the Tax Citation and Appeals, Personal Finance and Tax Documents are some of the other titles that are on the letters or on the envelopes that are going out. Remember, the Department of Revenue will always identify itself in any communication that we send out. The scammers do not seem to try to incorporate our logos or our branding onto the letters. They seem to go very generic with them because I'm assuming they're using them in multiple states. But we want you guys to be aware of this. If you guys are seeing an increase of this type of activity from the people that are coming in to be serviced by your areas, please feel free to reach out to Ms. Gonsarai so that we know what's going on and then we can get you any information that you may need. Does anybody have any questions on the last couple of items I talked about and these fraud notices?
Don, so there was a question about the True Balance Due calls.
Okay.
And they were asking if those had started yet. So do you know the date when that starts?
So the True Balance Due calls actually started a couple of weeks ago, and they have wrapped up. We're looking to see if we can run a new list that will take out the people that have already that paid through the last campaign. Those notices, though, for those True Balance Due billing notices will be going out probably at maybe the start of next week or the week after that. And those will be released in increments as our mail center can handle them and get them out to the taxpayers that have those balance dues. So does that help?
Thank you.
I had the question.
I think that's the only question that was in the chat at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we're going to talk about our modernization updates. Now, when we talk from the Department of Revenue, you're going to hear us using the term PATH. There is PATH, which is our new tax system, and that is the Pennsylvania Tax Hub. And then there is MyPath, which is the external portal available to tax preparers and end users. Basically, the taxpayers or our customers. Unfortunately, when you start talking, a lot of times it goes a little bit generic. So we're going to talk to you guys about what the difference between these two items are. Now, I'm going to assume that not a lot of your preparers are looking at MyPath or using that information. Can anyone tell me if they have used MyPath or if this is something that is discouraged by AARP?
I personally use it.
All right, thank you.
I don't think we're permitted to use it. We're not, my understanding is we are not permitted to use MyPath to prepare a client's Pennsylvania return. Is that
All right.
correct?
Well, MyPath,
I'm asking like Pat.
okay.
People who are AARP, know the AARP rules.
This is Sue. I think we're allowed to use it, but we don't because you have to totally enter all the data again. I've used it for myself, which is useful. I would never enter the data again for a client.
And that makes sense. And I'm going to say this, truthfully, forgive me. I love doing presentations in person where we can all be talking. So I'm hoping that next year, if we're doing this and you invite us back, that we can do this in person. So yes, I see Pat has responded. You're only supposed to use the contracted software. 100% what I kind of figured and what is available to you guys, and that's what you should do to protect yourselves and your clients. We are going to go through and I'm going to talk about some different things that are going on with PATH and MyPath, so you're aware of it for yourselves and just in case any people are coming in, because I'm going to assume some of your clients may have a small business that they're running, that this isn't all just retirement income and, just Social Security and retirement income and just maybe some W-2 compensation. So PATH is the system itself. MyPath is the external portal. MyPath will replace, it replaced all PIT functions last November. It will replace our eTide system and the PA100 enterprise registration coming up in November of 2022. So far, everything but our business taxes are in, the major business taxes are into the system. Motor and alternative fuels went in, pass-through entities, inheritance tax, voluntary disclosure, cigarette taxes, pari-mutuel, tavern games, and so on, which I know doesn't really affect a lot of you guys. With this roll-off 5 that'll go in December, sorry, no, I keep saying December. It's the very end of November of 2022. We're going to be taking in corp taxes, employer withholding tax, sales tax, and any of the remaining taxes that are in our business tax system. This changeover will go into effect Thanksgiving weekend or somewhere around that time. Thanksgiving weekend is when we've been told. It'll probably be about a week-long implementation from what it sounds like. So at that point in time, all of our systems will be in a blackout, which that should not really affect you that much, but just making sure you're aware of it in case you are trying to do something within our online portal systems at that time. We will not be able to do anything. Some of the items that are coming up with the audit, with the new PASS system for personal income taxes is new scoring and automated case assessments. In the past, you may have had people, customers that came back to you after you had filed the return that came back with a question or wanting to know why we were asking for certain information. Is that something that actually happens? Like you prepare the return in January, February, or March, and the individuals come back to you because we've asked about expenses, withholding, payments made or anything else? Do those type of things happen? Okay. So with our new automated case assessment, there will be cases that are going and routed, more through an automated robotic process now. This will especially affect things like wage garnishment, bankruptcies, bank attachments, and so on. I don't really think you have to worry that much about the wage garnishment with your clientele, or the liens process with your clientele, or bank attachments with your clientele. But we just want to make sure that you're aware that these things are happening and that they will be happening quicker than they have in the past. So it may be something that you run into. If for any reason there are questions, you can reach out to us at any point in time. We will get the information. And if the procedure is to go through Pat to come into us, that is perfectly fine. We will get the information back to Pat as soon as we can. We will start to include ARP and all the information that we send out to the other tax preparation and professional societies. I'm not sure exactly what Dave Braden had sent off to you in the past during the year, but my team likes to keep in contact with our stakeholders as much as possible, providing information. So we will make sure that you guys are included. If you haven't been included in the past, I will apologize for that. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is how to read a refund check. This information is in the booklet that was the handout information that was provided to you. I know that it may not be that huge of a deal, again, for you, but there may be a point in time when somebody comes back and says, what is this check for? We've given you a coding of the checks that come out of MyPath. We've given you the instructions of how to read it so you know that it is a check from the Department of Revenue. The Department of Revenue is Department 18. It will go through that first couple of letters in that. The PH stands for that it came out of the PASS system. The next 3 digits indicate what type of a tax it is. You're going to see in the example, it says TFE, which is an inheritance tax transferee account. Then you're going to see the next 3 shows it's a check, and then it shows you the unique numbers for that check. And the ones that matter to us are the R and the 5 digits after that. If you or your client customer have any questions in the future about why they received a refund check or a check from the department, that information is key as to what it is. But we wanted to give you a copy of what the checks look like and how to kind of read it and what that coding means, just so you have it in case that you need it. All right. The next item we're going to talk about is the new MyPath notice. The new Path notices. Our notices have completely changed over this past year. Some of you will feel that it was not changed for the better. Some will like it. We apologize if it's caused you any pain and confusion, but we have switched to this new notice type. This formatting of our notices follows along 2 thought processes. One is the thought process of how the tax system that we purchased from Fast Enterprises, our Gentex solution, is set up and formatted for notices and correspondence. The other is due to a research study that the Department of Revenue did with a company called MITRE, where we looked at how bad our notices were and said, how can we improve them to make the correspondence more clear and concise for the taxpayer or our end customer? And various recommendations came out of it to kind of block and spell things out a little more clearly rather than a lot of run-on paragraphs and so on. You're going to notice on the example I've shown on the screen, you're going to see the letter ID, which is the unique ID for the notice. The tax account is the taxpayer's unique account number with us, and the date the letter was issued are at the top. It's going to tell you if it's a personal income tax billing notice. It'll say if it's an assessment notice. It'll say if it's a property tax rent rebate notice. That'll be spelled out in the next section. Then it's going to say why you're receiving this notice. And there it will actually provide the customer experience center phone number where the person can call in regards to questioning about that notice. Then you'll see it goes down into the account period that we're referring in this. In this example, it's December 31, 2019. Just so everyone is aware, the filing year period end is what we're always going to use on any notice, be it for personal income tax, property tax rent rebate, or sales or employer. Realize this is very different than the way we've handled personal income tax and property tax rent rebate for years, where we just put the tax year or claim year on it. We did buy an off-the-shelf product that this is how this information is displayed. You'll see it going next into the amount that is due, explanation of penalties, and then what you need to do. Now, you're going to see in here for billing notes, it says you need to respond within 30 days. It'll give a address to respond to. It gives a fax number to send the information into. But in the second paragraph of that section, you're going to see a part where it says, please submit all correspondence online through the submissions panel on MyPath. This is what I want to focus on, and we're going to go into this a little bit more in the next slide. Submission of the correspondence through MyPath is the best way for us to service your end customer, your customer. So if they are responding to a notice, or if they come into you and they are asking for you to respond on their behalf with information, or you're helping them out, submission of the correspondence through MyPath is key. It is a non-logged in function. I'm going to talk to you about this ad nauseum today, but we want to make sure you're aware of it. And I don't believe you're using that methodology to submit correspondence on behalf of your customer would be a violation of ARP. Pat or someone, if you can tell me if that would be, I would appreciate it. So I don't inundate too much here.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, well, I'll let you guys figure that one out, but it is a non-logged in function. You do not have to sign in as a preparer. The customer can do it themselves. I don't know if you respond to notices. I got to assume that somebody on this call does at some point in time. So making sure you're aware that that is the absolute best way. And I apologize if you can hear fire whistles outside. It does seem like every single time we are doing a session anymore, there's a fire trucks going by on the street down below for some reason. So if you can hear that, I apologize.
Hey, Don?
Yes,
Just
sir.
a question on that. We do not sign our tax returns. It's signed as AARP Foundation.
Yes. Yeah.
So therefore, if one of the volunteers goes to MyPath, he does not have to identify, he or she does not have to identify himself as a AARP volunteer in order to
Submit correspondence?
into the system?
No. To submitting returns is a non-logged in function. There's a place where you can identify yourself as ARP and put your SIDN number in. You can do that. But if you want to submit correspondence to us on behalf of your customer, you do not have to log in as a preparer.
Okay.
You could do that if you wanted to, but you really don't have to. All you're doing is, it's the same thing as if you're faxing it to us or mailing it in to us. You go on, and on the next slide, I'll be able to show you a little bit about that. So, but you're going to see how easy and simple this is. We just want to make you aware of it. We don't know what level that you do with your customers, and I apologize for not working with Pat and them that much beforehand to make sure I knew all this before, but I do really like to have conversations and see where we're at and answer any questions you may have. So that's what the new notices look like. Going into the next slide, you're going to see this is what MyPath looks like. You're going to see down on the bottom left-hand corner, there is a block that says submissions, and there is, hold on, Sorry, there was a block that had come up on for my doing the presentations over my slide showing me this. You're going to see down at the bottom, the first option that you can select under there is respond to a letter. If you click on that, it's going to take you in to be able to put the taxpayer's information down, put that letter ID down that I talked about, and some other stuff, and then to attach a PDF or a TIFF or a JPEG or one of the other acceptable file formats, and then you will be able to do and go into that, and submit that. And I do believe I'm going to be covering that a little bit more in detail later on when I start to talk about these non-logged in functions. But this is the MyPath Hub. I'm going to tell you in the upper right-hand corner of this, ignore the logged in. Do not go up there. Do not go anywhere near it. You do not need to. Every function that you see in the 7 tiles that are on the screen are all non-logged in functions for the most part. So if you have to verify your clients or your customers' estimated payments, you can do that. If you want to check the status of the refund rebate, you can do all that. And we're going to go into this in a little bit more detail. But you do not need to log in. We are trying to make sure that everybody's aware of that. So you do not have to do that, and you do not have to go through the whole entire third-party registration. So for the non-logged in functions, I've talked about this. You can make payments. Their estimated extension or voucher payments. Do many of you have people that when they come in end up having to make estimated payments to us, or that make estimated payments throughout the year to us?
No, very few.
Okay. So they can make them through MyPath. They can set them up and schedule them. You can encourage them to do it. If they come into you and they want to make, you should be able to do the ACH payment right off of your submission through TaxSlayer. But if they come into you after the fact because you made an adjustment to their account, you can tell them that they can go onto MyPath and make the payment. You can help them out, whatever you need to do, whatever your level of service that you provide is. Okay? But these are all the functions that they can do as non-logged in. Now, sorry, lost my mouse here. Other items that they can do is you can file the property tax and rebate return. You can file your PA-40, and you're going to see for property tax and rebate, it will take you through all the prompts and everything else. If the person is not qualified, it will not submit the claim. If they are, if their income is over the level, or if they don't meet one of the 4 categories to qualify, you can do attachments of the tax bills. If it's a first-time filer, of their supporting documentation to support age or disability. And what I want to talk with you about is the information that we sent out to you guys should also include a flyer. I do not know if your sites can print this. If they cannot print it and want us to supply you some, if you give us a mailing address, we will be glad to send some along. We do realize that your TaxSlayer program does not allow for the electronic submission of a property tax and rebate claim, and it will not do that now or in the future that we know of. And some people may, though, have enough of a novice skill that they can take the information that comes off of what you printed for them and go online to MyPath at home and file their claim theirself, so that they get it into the system and that they get the confirmation number to show that they have it, that we have it, and that it's in the system to process. So we have created a little bit of a flyer that if you can give it to the people that get property tax and rebate, we would be very appreciative. If you cannot, we completely understand, but that is up to you guys. But we just thought that it may be a way to get them. Don't know how many people come back to you after they filed and ask about the status of it. And I hate to say bug you, but I do realize that there's a lot of people that once they file, keep going back to their preparers and saying, I haven't heard anything, I haven't heard anything. And with the property tax and rebate claims usually being submitted by April 15th, but them not even hearing anything from the department until June or July, they get a little nervous and maybe coming back around. So we wanted to make sure you guys were aware of this and that you have that information. And I see in the chat, do we complete property tax run rebates on MyPath or continue to use TaxSlayer? I'm going to assume that question was to Sue. We're not telling you that you need to complete them on that. We're just saying we've designed a handout that if you want to include it with the PA 1000 when you give it to them, that encourages them to go on themselves to do it. We're just looking for a way to get them into the system faster.
And Don, there was also a question about the DEX 93. So they were asking when they respond to their notices, do you know if the Bureau of Individual Taxes prefers that they still include the DEX 93 when using MyPath?
So if you're using MyPath, you do not need to use the DEX 93. If you're submitting via fax or mail, the DEX 93 is the preference to still be used. I will tell anyone, Dave was a huge advocate for the DEX 93. And the DEX 93 is great in many ways. But if when you respond, if you're including a copy of the notice that you're using to respond, that really is what you need. It has all the information that we need on it. It has the account number, the tax period, everything else you need. You do not need to use the DEX 93. It does help, but it's not an absolute requirement. So hopefully that helped the person who asked it. And I see Pat, Don, correct me if I'm wrong. If I recall, when registering personally for MyPath, I had to wait for a confirmation letter. No, Pat, you are correct. If you register for yourself in MyPath, you do have to wait for a confirmation letter. But again, what we're talking about here is non-logged in features. You can file your return, your property tax and rebate claim, you can make payments, and you can submit correspondence to us all non-logged in. And when you do it, you'd get a confirmation number, but you're not going to see anything else from us. It's not giving you any magical access to their account. It's not going to give you a link to see into the person's account. It is truly as if you just put it in the mailbox or if you faxed it into us. That was to make a payment, I thought. So, sorry, Pat. So Patricia H is asking, I believe that this is a one-time confirmation letter. Do we need to get one every year? No, Patricia H, it's a one-time confirmation letter for yourself. You do not need to get one every year. And Patricia G is asking, that was to make a payment, I thought. I'm not sure if that is a response to what I was just talking about or to something else. Does Patricia G want to give us any more insight?
Trish, unmute yourself if you want to talk.
All right.
Don, I had a question on the chat that
Yes.
Is there a test site? Because we have to learn how to do this, and we have to be able to show our volunteers how to do this. Is there a way to practice?
So there is no way to practice. I'm going to show you a little bit at a very high level, but if you guys would like to have a second meeting, and I believe, Alicia can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's about an hour and a half at most that we can have a person run through the site in a little bit more detail to show you some things, if you would like to do that. We are also going to be putting videos together on how to make a payment that are going to be available on our website so that you can quickly and easily watch what you need to do. But when we go in, it is truly very simple and easy to do. So.
Yeah, and Don, just to add on to that, I think if we are going to do a MyPath, like Pat, if you would decide to do a MyPath webinar, we could definitely do something that's just tailored to your audience, where we're just talking about the non-logged in features and what your end customers can use easily. There's also additional functionality if you're a logged in user, but based on the conversation, it doesn't sound like your group is really going to take advantage of that too much.
Okay, I'm going to apologize that you guys might not be able to see this too well, but in the handouts that we gave you, there's a section 8 that is, sorry, Section 9. My bad. Section 9, My Path updates. In that, we actually show you what the logged in features are, and we show very simply how easy it is to go in and click on things and to talk you through it. And as I said, we're going to have some videos out there in the future, so we'll make sure you know when they're available, but we'll gladly have another session with you guys if you want to go into this a little more. It really depends. We're willing to work with you to whatever you need to help make yourself successful. You guys are a major stakeholder in helping us out, so we will work with you in any way, shape, or form that you need us to and provide you the information. So was that Stephen that asked the question? Did that help you, sir?
Yes, thank you.
All right. All right. The next set of functions we're going to talk about is tracking the status of where is your refund, rebate, or inheritance tax return. I apologize. This is a repurposing of a slide that we've been using. I know most of you are not doing inheritance tax returns. But if you go into where's my refund, and in that tile for under refunds and rebates under that, very simple. You just need their current for refunds, the refund status, the tax year, and their SSN. For the rebates, you need the claim year, the date of birth, and the SSN, and we will provide you with what the current status is or what is going on. It's very simple and easy to use. It's very similar to our old Where's My Refund and Where's My Rebate on our old site. The phone features still work also the exact same way as they did. So those are still out there. Now, if for some reason a person did get a 1099-G or a 1099-INT, you can also verify those from our website. I know that's really probably not going to affect your clientele that much, but we wanted to make sure you are aware of that. All right. Now, when we go to the whole part on responding to notices, I know I've already talked about this. You're going to see respond to a letter down in the submissions tile. We're going to request a letter ID. You're going to type in a description of what information that you're sending to us, and you're going to respond. It's very simple, very easy. When it comes down to what we have on the slide here for enter verification codes and take a tax verification quiz, I'm going to talk a little bit about this later on when I talk about the fraud detection and analysis that's going on. But you may have clients that receive a letter from us after you've prepared and submitted their return that get caught up in one of these ID validations or to take a identity verification quiz. These are all simple logged in features from our website. You just have to go in, put in the last name, the verification code, or put in the letter ID, the last four of the social security number, and answer the questions in relation to their PA-40 return or the knowledge-based questions that we're going to ask. Those knowledge-based questions are the same questions that most credit card and bank companies are asking you to verify financial information. We're using a lot of the same data sets as what they use. So it's nothing that's known to financial institutions. We do not take things out of their tax returns from 20 years ago and say, tell us what your liability was in, 2001 or something of that crazy nature. We're going off of information like, what car did you own in this year? Who has your mortgage? Did you live at one of these addresses? Can you verify this phone number? Something of that nature. They're all very, very routine financial institution questions to verify identity. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So, through our website, you can verify estimated payments, carry forward credits. You can download the W-2Gs. You can download for gambling and lottery. That is for, we say you can do the 1099-G forms. That is anything issued by the Pennsylvania Lottery is available from our site. Not from casinos, not from any place else that may have issued them. Those are all from the Pennsylvania Lottery. And then you can get the 1099-G or INT information if they are in need of that. So other features that are on our homepage is a penalty and interest calculator and a bunch of other taxes and so on. None of this really affects you guys that much, so I'm not really going to talk about these. One item that may come up of an interest to you is use tax. We're going to talk a little bit about use tax when we talk about Pennsylvania personal income tax and home office deductions, but you can file use tax through our eTide site yet. That has not come over into my path. That will be coming over the next wave. But remember, and I'll say this, and I apologize, and if Mr. Braden was here, he'd be very upset with me when I say this. You can still file use tax on the PA-40 return. And for most of your customers and clientele, that is exactly what they need to do. Do not worry about establishing a sales tax account for them. Do not worry about all of the other stuff that the department has told you in the past. The PA-40 is still a very acceptable means for them to, for your clientele to submit any use tax payments that are due to us. All right. Other modernization efforts that are happening from us, we've improved our website, or we've changed our website. You may agree that it's been an improvement or not. You're going to see categories at the top of I am in and I'm looking for. We are trying to model after other state tax agencies, what they have done to make things more easily found by anyone looking or getting information to us. In the upper right-hand corner, there's the search. That search is tied to Google and does do very well with bringing up information off of our website content. So that is always there for you. But we are changing our website. It will be changing more and more as we start to bring in the last rollouts. But if you guys have any, I don't want to say this, feedback, anything that is not there that you needed or in a location easily for you to find, please reach out to us and let us know how we can make improvements. I love to say it this way, and I hope I don't offend anyone. We are a bunch of lawyers and accountants trying to design a website, trying to design information to send out. We are not exactly eloquent writers. We are not people that come up with super visually appealing things that make it easy to understand. We're usually trying to put in 10 caveats as to why you're not supposed to do things or what's going to happen to you if you do something wrong. And we could use some help every once in a while. So if there's anything that you have in the way of recommendations for us, please always bring those forward to us so that we know. Otherwise, we're going to think we're doing a great job because we go with the theory of no news is good news. So if no one tells us we're doing badly, we will assume we are doing things awesome, and we will continue to move forward with our thoughts, which is very frightening probably for many of you. The next item I'm going to talk about is payment plans. This is something that has been a sticking point for the Department of Revenue for years. If anyone wants to respond, but does any of you even know that the department allows payment plans? If a person owes us money? Okay, Sue. Oh, good. This is great. All right. Did you just learn about this in the last year or so, or have you known this for a long time? All right, great. So, when in my path, if a person has to make a payment, once they receive a notice from us, they can go in and log in and set up a payment plan. If they can't, they can contact us. There's information in the materials that we provided you on how they can go and do that. I realize that's not something that hits most of your clientele, but just in case, we want to make sure that you're aware that we are able to do payment plans. It seems to have been a point that a lot of people didn't really realize we could do anymore. Somebody did ask, a reader asked, when will the property tax rent rebate be incorporated into the PA-40? Probably never. Okay, it would be great if it was, but I want to paint the picture for you. On the PA 40, we already have one type of income that follows Pennsylvania personal income tax law. Then if a person qualifies for SP, we have a whole nother set of reporting requirements and different information has to come in. And then if you have property tax or rebate, it brings in yet a third set of criteria. It would be great if we did have it all, but I am fearful because I have seen too many people that work for the department who start to see these figures and think that that income belongs on everywhere and anywhere, and then they start increasing reported taxable income and then, cause problems down the way. It is a training issue. On our side, I will fully admit, but I don't know that you're going to see that anytime soon. So sorry, Reader S, but yeah, that is probably not going to happen. But it would be kind of cool if it did. I see in the meantime, while I was looking at that, Ms. Consor responded. So I don't know if there's anything else that I missed in the chats, but remember that we do have payment plans. You can do those on our website. You can call us about them. If any of your clients need them, please feel free to reach out. We do not want people to think that we are not going to be helpful to them. We realize, especially coming out of the pandemic, that people are having a tough time with money, and we want to work with them. Again, our goal is to get the money as quickly as we possibly can, but we realize in some cases that we do need to set up payment plans and we need to be a little more flexible with our customers. Helpful resources, and this is the last of hopefully the non-fun parts before we get into the personal income tax stuff. Our MyPath assistance area has a little bot now that we like to call our Pathfinder. It's a virtual assistant that can help you with MyPath related questions. We also have a special phone number set up for MyPath, which is 717-425-2495 with the extension of Path 1 that you can call in. And we also have an email address for MyPath related items. If you have questions, that is mypath@pa.gov. What I will ask from you is if you are calling us or if you are emailing us, only do one at a time. I know many of you will start and you will call, and while on hold, you'll send an email to us or whatever else, and then you hit send on the email, and then we pick up the phone a half an hour, 2 hours, a minute or so later. I'm not really sure what your horror stories will be. But then we will still be responding to that email when we get to it. So if you can just contact us by one source at a time, we greatly appreciate it. Now, the Customer Experience Center is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Our phone numbers for the customer service and collections are all the same. The form orderings line, the 888 PA taxes, is still out and up and running. You can use that if you need to request forms. I realize that many of you are not requesting forms, but again, you want to make sure you're aware of what's out there. Our online customer service center is out there. It has approximately 3,000 frequently asked questions and answers available to you. There are links to forms and tax guides from it. And if there is something that you have a question on that you cannot find in the FAQs and you don't want to sit on hold on our phone line, you can use that to submit a question to us. You have to just hit the submit a question link at the top of the page, and it will ask you for some information if you already don't have an account with us for the online customer service center, which is different from a MyPath account or anything else, that you can then send in your question, include any attachments, and we will respond within 72 business hours. Hopefully many of you are using our online customer service center to get questions. So I see somebody mentioning here, Pat G, 2 years from now. I'm not really sure what that is. And then she comes back, any comments on turnaround time for processing amended returns? Pat, where do you, if you want to tell me, do you live somewhere near the Harrisburg area? if you want, stop by the office. We'll go for lunch. I will buy you a drink. I have no idea what that time frame for turnaround is at the moment. It is way beyond what I want it to be. I will tell you that. We are processing things on first in, first out. But if there are amended returns that are being hung up right now, you can contact us and let us know. I will give my contact information after this. I believe our outreach education contact information is in the packet also. But again, you can feel free to contact me, and I will give you that information at the end of the session. You have to hang on to the end to get that, though.
Okay.
So, all right. The next item I'm going to talk to you guys really about quickly is our schedule a call feature. This is what we set up for practitioners. A few years ago, we had to multi-purpose this during the pandemic to be able to reach a lot of our clients and let them be able to reach us. But if you want to avoid wait times, you can go onto our website, fill out the requested information, and schedule a callback time, and we will call you. Our district offices are still open. They are by appointment only for the most part. We've learned this week, this slide is not exactly 100% accurate. We do understand that they may be open Monday through Friday now, it's just not Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. There are no senior citizens hours anymore. Face coverings, I believe, are still required at the moment. But we would encourage you to, if you need to visit a district office, to call and schedule an appointment. If there's no one there, they will either schedule an appointment if you walk up, or they will help you, whatever they can do. But they are encouraging that you schedule an appointment ahead of time so that they can make sure that they have staff there available to see you. We have, unfortunately, we're not unlike any place else. Some of our employees will come down with illnesses, especially at this time of year. We may have an office that has to shut down because there is a COVID outbreak within it. So they will call the people that have appointments scheduled so that they can reschedule them and let them know what's going on. Again, we will deeply encourage that you schedule office visits. Some other information that we have for you guys is new business education that's going on. I know this probably isn't a great thing for you guys to worry about, but you may have someone that's coming in. You may have a retiree who is setting up an Etsy business or something else along the way. They're crocheting, they're doing something else, they're doing woodworking, and they want to set up a business. Truly, if that is a business and not just a hobby where they may be selling things once a year or something like that, we have new business registration outreach that is going on, and we have an entrepreneurship series that's happening with the small business development centers at the state-owned universities. We have information about this on our website and on our social media, but we wanted to make sure you guys are aware of it. We do realize that there are a lot of people that are becoming business owners again, even in their retirement. So we wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that. Now, for personal income tax and legislative and regulatorial changes are coming up. As always, pretty much anything the federal government does not affect PA personal income tax. You know, just does not happen. Obviously, the federal stimulus payments, the second round of the economic impacts and payments and so on, are not being considered taxable income for Pennsylvania personal income tax purposes. Nothing has changed on that position. The meal expenses for the ability for businesses to deduct 100% of certain meals, this does not impact PA personal income tax. PA personal income tax for the meal expense and the qualified educator tax deduction and charitable contributions. We're still following the exact same rules we've followed in PA forever and a day. For meals, it has to be business-related purposes, and you need to fill out Schedule UE to claim those as an individual or put that information on your Schedule C. Follow the same rules you always have if those are items you have to deal with. For educators, I don't know that you have clientele that are educators, but we do not follow the federal rule. If there are truly unreimbursed expenses that they were required to purchase as an educator, they can claim that on their tax return as a UE expense. Just needs to follow the UE rules. Cash contributions for charity or so on. Businesses are not allowed to make charitable contributions for Pennsylvania purposes. That would always have to be tied back to a marketing or advertising of that business. and that would be claimed on a Schedule C. Nothing has changed there. The payroll protection plan loan forgiveness is not included in gross income, and expenses paid with the forgiven PPP loans are fully deductible for Pennsylvania purposes. Sorry, my slides weren't clicking. With the American Rescue Plan, the federal stimulus payments, additional federal stimulus payments up to $1,400 for an individual are not considered taxable for PA purposes. The child tax credit is basically you're getting your own money back from the federal government. In that regards, that is not anything that needs to be worried about to be claimed for PA personal income tax purposes. And for the Tax Cuts and Job Act, adjustments for inflation, eligibility for certain tax deductions and credits and standard deductions will be adjusted to reflect inflation. Check the IRS income tax brackets for updates on this. But again, this isn't anything that's going to affect you, your clientele most likely, or PA personal income tax. Now, the EITC adjustments for the maximum credit for filing jointly as a married couple and claiming 3 or more qualified dependent children to those amounts. Again, none of that stuff is going to affect your PA personal income tax, so your software should take care of most of that. The alternative minimum tax, higher exemption and income phase outs that occur in 2021, the exemption amounts will be changed to $73,600 with a phase out beginning at $523,600. I'm going to assume, from what I do know limited of the ARP, that you do not have any clientele that are coming into these tax brackets. And most likely. Pat, is that the case?
Pretty much so, yeah. But not because we have those limits in place, but just because those
They don't come
they
to
just
you.
don't come, yeah.
Okay. All this material is in the booklets for additional information on it. IRA contribution amounts are remaining the same for 2021, but the phase out levels for taking deductions for these contributions, that will also increase. And retirement distributions, the penalty waiver and the relaxed rules around the required minimum deduction distributions only applied to 2020 unless they were enacted by new legislation from Congress. I have not heard if anything has happened with that, but we will put out any information if anything changes there. Another personal income tax regulation that has come in is we are now participating in what is referred to as an account validation service. The department was mandated to verify all new and updated banking information used for online ACH debit transactions. The web debit account validation was mandated by the National Automated Clearinghouse, or NACHA, and that became effective back in March, on March 19th. What this basically means is whenever your software is sending us that information for ACH debits to occur, we're going to be validating it to make sure that it is accurate information for that client. If it isn't, we will not take the money, obviously, because there's nothing that we can do. We would not be doing the direct deposit. If that is the case, we'd be in a situation of a refund. We'd end up mailing them a check. But we are doing this feature so that we can make sure that the money is going to the right location and is going to a valid location. And because we were mandated to do so. So we want to make sure you guys are aware of that, because somebody may come back with a notification saying that they received something on this. Again, if you have any clients coming in with it, please feel free to reach out to the department at any time. We will be glad to assist you. Act 25 of 2021 required that anyone making personal income tax payments equal to or greater than $15,000 has to make those payments electronically after December 31st, 2021. Now, payments that are not made electronically will be subject to a penalty equal to 3% of the payment amount not to exceed $500. So that is something new. And I see Ray Growy, I'm sorry if I'm saying these names wrong. Is there an automated feedback to the preparer of the bank account validation at the time of submittal, at the time of submission? No, there is not. From what I understand, it is not an instantaneous with that, with your personal income tax filing. I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, we will make sure that we update you with that information. For business taxes and items that are in our portal, I believe it would be, but that submission coming through from your software, I do not know that it will be doing an automated auto feedback. And I will let Alicia chime in if she knows differently.
I think you're correct, Don.
Okay. The next item we're going to talk about is bad check fees. This is something that was enacted as part of Act 25 to actually reduce the amount of bad check fees that the department can charge. It used to be $1,000 we could charge. It is now down to $100. I do not think that anybody will complain about that or be unhappy. Then for 1099 NECs, technical clarification was issued as part of the tax reform code for the new federal form 1099 NEC. When the federal government took the miscellaneous and broke it into having a miscellaneous and the non-employee compensation pieces of it, our tax law was specifically written to say miscellaneous and not have any wiggle room for new forms or changes from the federal government. So that has been corrected. So crop insurance deferral, applicable tax. This is applicable to tax years beginning after December 31st, 2020. Farmers can defer income received from disaster relief for crop insurance payment for 1 year, mirroring the federal law. We have information available on this on our website. But again, this case, we are mirroring the federal law. So what you're doing for them is exactly what you'd be coming over and doing for us. If you have any questions on this, you can ask more about that or look for the information on our website. We'll be glad to get you any information you need. Teleworking guidance for employees working at home during the pandemic. The temporary guidance issued from the department ended on June 30th of 2021. After that date, employees will need to evaluate their current working situation and apply our existing PA personal income tax laws. A Pennsylvania resident who is required to telework full-time from home in Pennsylvania rather than an employer's location outside the state should treat their compensation as Pennsylvania source income. Pennsylvania does not allow a taxpayer to claim a resident credit on PA source income. So in a situation that doesn't fall under our reciprocal agreement categories, if a person used to work in New York and their New York office location is shut down and they are now required to telework from at home, we are now considering that income to be Pennsylvania income, and that needs reported on their personal income tax return, and they would not get an out-of-state tax credit on that income. So this is mirroring tax guidance that a lot of other states have done during this time frame, and as part of the way society has changed from being an in-office location to a teleworking environment for its employees. I don't know that this is going to have a large impact for you guys, but we wanted to make sure you are aware of it just in case the question comes up. And there is guidance on this in the materials that we provided you and in available on our website. So, sorry, let me click through. So claiming home office deductions, again, probably not something that your clientele is going to have. What you need to remember is if a person is sitting with a home office, they need to be able to answer these 3 questions. Does the employer require you as a condition of your employment to maintain a suitable work environment away from your employer's premise? Is the office or work area the principal place of you to perform your duties of your employment? Do you use the office or work area regularly to perform the duties of your work employment? If you answer no to these questions, you cannot claim a home office expense. If you answer yes, then you can. Now, in many cases, what you need to worry about here is I'm going to claim this deduction for a small amount of gain on this income tax return, but later on, when we talk here, you're going to find out that there's a, how do I say it? There's a double-edged sword that comes in when you go to sell your home. And we do not follow the federal rules for selling of a home in a similar situation. So you can claim the deduction for home office if your employer does not provide it. You're not required to report, when you're not required to report to your normal place of business. It must be the exclusive area. You have to break it down by the square footage is usually the easiest way. So you have a 2,000 square foot home and 500 feet of that, square feet of that is being used as a dedicated home office. You would prorate everything down from your taxes, your utilities, whatever else to come into that, and you would take your deduction. Now, while you're doing this, that is all well and good. It's going to save you a little bit of a benefit on your taxes, but in the future, when you go to sell your home, any gain respected to that proportional percentage that you have taken as a deduction, you have to claim that percentage as from the profit you make. So later on in life, say you sell your house you bought your home for $100,000, you sell it for $200,000, you were taking 20% of your home as a deduction on your tax return. 20% of that profit that you made on the sale of that home becomes taxable income now for Pennsylvania purposes. So again, if any clients are trying to do this, which I'm not going to say that this is a big item for you guys, but it is something to keep in mind to look at and say, you may not want to do this. You may want to look at this a little further. And I believe it's going to go beyond the guidance that you normally give to people, or that you would help them research it. There is information available on our website. We can get out to Pat or anyone else that needs it, a handout that we developed on this, that if the person comes in and asks about this, that you can give to them. We'll gladly work with you in any way that you need us to. Does anybody have any questions on this? I see some stuff going on in chat, and I see Alicia's been answering things, so I'm not sure if there's anything I need to worry about. I'll take silences. No.
Yeah, Don, I don't think any of the questions were related to the home office expenses, so I think you're good.
Okay. So forms and instructions changes. Let's get into those. The due date this year is going to be April 18th. The RAV 1882 is a new form that was developed in cooperation with the governor's office. This form is not required by any means. This form is solely voluntary. We want you to know about it. Don't know how your software is going to take this into consideration, but it is to provide the department information for people that want to receive information regarding their eligibility to enroll in health insurance coverage through the Pennsylvania Health Insurance Exchange. So we've been asked to put this out there. If your client wants to receive information on this, fill out the 1882. We will get that information to the right individuals, and they will send them information. This does not need to be filled out if the person does not request that you send us that information. Again, don't know how this will tie into everything that you guys do. We wanted to make you aware of the form, but we'll also let you know that it is not something that you are mandated to complete and send to us. Excuse me, sorry. The following forms have been updated because of the new electronic payment requirement for individuals that owe taxes of $15,000 or more. The application to file an automatic extension, the PA40ES individual estimated payment form, the partnerships, the PAV to make an income tax balance due payment, and the 413 and 413 respective instructions have been increased to include this information in it. I'm going to take this opportunity again to talk to you and say, if you have a client that needs to make estimated payments, let them know that they can go onto MyPath and make that payment. It's simple, convenient, and easy. You don't take the chance of us losing the payment. I'm sure someone in this place, or sorry, I usually do this personally, so apologize for talking as if we're all in a room together. I'm sure someone on this webinar has come across a person that mailed their payment into us, but we never cashed it. And then we start sending billing assessments and or collection notices out to them. Making the payments electronically, either through the MyPath portal or when you file the return to ask for the ACH withdrawal of the money, are the best ways to make a payment to us. We cannot go in and just start randomly taking people's money out of their accounts. That is against the law. If we go into an active garnishment, there's a plenty of notification that happens on all that before we do it. We're not taking this information to, run amok of people's taxes and their bank accounts and so on. So I see, will TS advise us that electronic payment is required? I'm not positive on if your tax layer package will let you know, but just remember, if it's over 15,000, it's got to be made electronically. I'm going to take it that most of your clientele are making a $15,000 tax payment. If they are, good for them. I'm very proud of them in many ways, but hopefully to God they were making estimated payments all throughout the year if they owe us that much money at the end. All right. Now, you may see some people that are coming in as first-time clients or people that are coming to you with what is called an application of credit notice. Basically, if you've asked for us to carry the refund or overpayment that they are due over to the next year as part of their estimated payment, we will now send you a notice telling you that we've done this, that we've moved that payment forward. This has met with mixed reviews throughout the Commonwealth as we've gone around to speak, because everybody gets upset because the notice says that the department has conducted an examination of your personal income tax return you filed. Examination in that sense is a generic term. We may have just processed as it came in. The computer scanned, saw that you are asking for an amount to be carried over to the next year, and has generated this notice out to you. We have done this because it's what we were asked to do. Practitioners had said forever and a day that the department made adjustments and their clients never brought the notices to them, that their client doesn't remember seeing it, the client didn't know what the amounts were, and a ton of other stuff kind of along the way. So we are making sure that every time that we issue an overpayment to a credit for the next year or to a future period, whatever else it may be, that we are sending a written letter out to let you know let your client or the taxpayer know what is going on. We wanted to make you aware of that because when these notices first started going out this past year, they did cause some confusion and some angst among various people. We've already talked a little bit about the request for additional information. You need the letter ID. You're going to see that in the notice it says additional documentation has been requested. It's going to tell you what we're looking for. I would encourage you to go to MyPath or use the fax number or the email resource account to send it in. If you use the fax account or the email resource account, feel free to use the Did you guys lose me?
No, you're still there.
Okay, because my screen just went up and said you lost your network connection, try to reconnect. So I wasn't sure if I've lost you guys, if you can still see me and what's going on. I apologize for that. That just first time I've ever seen that happen while giving a presentation. So again, responding to a notice, we would encourage MyPath if you can use it. That is up to you guys for your procedures, but it is the easiest way to get that information into us, and you get a confirmation number to say what's there. Now, while the confirmation number may or may not allow you in certain cases to look that particular piece of correspondence up for a reference, what I will tell you is the same as if you make your payment online and get that confirmation number, or you do the submission of something to us in any way, shape, or form online. That confirmation number gives you the golden ticket. Okay, when you call in, when you write into us and you say something, I made this payment, I submitted this correspondence. If my people on the phone start saying to you, well, we don't have it, we don't have it, we don't have it, you have something. Maybe we didn't find it, maybe we couldn't do it, but we at least know you have some information there that we should be able to look at and see what is going on and help your client out. So again, that is great. We lose, unfortunately, yes, I will be honest. The stuff faxed into us, stuff that is mailed into us especially, some of that stuff gets lost. I swear to God, sometimes I don't believe the post office delivers it. But again, I will take that. Maybe in some cases we lose it, or we misplace it, or other things occur. But again, you get that confirmation number, you pretty much have us over a barrel, and we now are working with you, and at least if nothing else, you can tell us, hey, this is what we need to do. Did I just skip ahead 2 slides? I think I skipped ahead a bunch. Okay, request for additional information. Sorry, I accidentally hit something while talking. The next item we're going to talk about is adjustory summary notice. You're going to see in here, we go back to the reported values versus the adjusted values. If you have any of these over the years, you may have seen that reported values column before we got rid of it, or when we still had it, sometimes showed figures that were completely different than what you reported to us. That was an internal system error. Now this should be showing you exactly what was filed on the return originally and what we adjusted it to. So our notices have become more clear in that regard, and hopefully it makes your jobs a little bit easier. Notices of assessment, again, follow the format of telling you why you're receiving this notice, telling you what you owe, showing you how much of a penalty was there, and it tells you how to pay. This is very straightforward, very direct. I don't know if you guys deal with this a lot, but you may see these. Again, I will always encourage to make that payment via MyPath if you can, but if nothing else, get us that information as soon as you can and get that payment to us. If they are an assessment, I will add one other thing. There's not much the department will do for a person once they're into that period of assessment for a personal income tax return, and we would encourage you to be filing your appeal with the Board of Appeals. The window down to 60 days is very difficult, very limited time frame for us to be able to do something. So again, we would encourage the filing of the appeal in those cases to protect your client's rights and to make sure that they get the due diligence that they need in review of that account. Now, you're going to see some of a letter of a return not accepted. Now, this has to deal with amended returns in relation to being filed when there is an active assessment on the account. When that is the case, the account is under assessment, and if you try to file an amended return, that return will not be accepted. Your client will receive this type of notice. There probably are going to be some timing issues in this, that you may have filed the amended return and it may not be in our system yet, especially if that amended return was mailed in. And then we have assessed you based off of the original return that was filed. and then the amended return hits the system and this notice gets generated. If that's the case, all you have to do is contact us and say that this amended return was filed previous to it. We can take a look at it. You can file your appeal with the Board of Appeals telling them that this was done and that they'll take a look at it and they will look at the amended return, make a determination if they can process off of that or what they need to do. But you have your rights to this. It's this is just a new notice that we're sending out because we've heard for years that nobody heard anything on their amended return. If your amended return is filed and your account is not under assessment, we're not going to tell you that we filed your amended return. We've filed your amended return if you paid the balance that's due on it and everything's copacetic, life will just move on. If we don't agree with it, we will send a billing notice or an adjustment notice or request more information or something of that nature. But in some cases, it will just process. I would always encourage you to look at the online system for Where's My Refund to take a look for the status of that, or tell your client to if that is the case of something they need to do. Again, not something I think you deal with that much, but we wanted to make you aware of it. Okay, common filing errors. Just to let you guys know, there's a lot more stuff that we're data capturing nowadays. The Schedule SP is being data captured. The Schedule C is being data captured. The Schedule UE is being data captured. For property tax rent rebate, the PA 1000 RC is being data captured. Please make sure that those fields are filled in properly. If for any reason you're filling in something by hand, please make sure it's legitimate, like easily readable, and the numbers are clear. The biggest issue I think you guys are going to have is the PA 1000 RC, the rent certificate. If you use the boxes over to the right-hand side to calculate the amount of rent due for the year based off of someone who's changed locations or the rental amount has changed during the year, say it went from $500 to $600, and you're doing the calculation over on the side, make sure that the numbers that you're filling in that get reported down are reflective of the total amount of rent paid basically divided by 12, and put it in so that it mathematically works out. That will not cause a delay in the processing. If you leave that blank and just put the total amount rent paid and don't have the calculation, most likely that is going to cause a delay in processing and us to come out and ask for information. So you can redo the calculation to total everything up and then average it out over the months, or you can complete 2 different rent certificates for that location, even if it is the same location, breaking out those months. So say it was 4 months at $500, and then it was 8 months at $600, you could do 2 rent certificates and submit those through. You have 2 options in it at the moment. Individual Taxes has not told us that they mandate one or the other. We've seen both work in the submission of claims this year, but we wanted to make sure you're aware of it. I realize I'm talking about PA common errors right now, but I really just wanted to talk about that while we were talking about the data capturing. Supporting documentation should always be attached with the return. That has not changed. If you have to submit it via the fax number and information in there, that is all still the same. And then using the DX93 is highly encouraged, because at that point you will not have had a notice to respond to from us, because you are submitting this once you have prepared the return, you're submitting the W-2s or 1099s. In that case, the DX93 is your best friend. Keep using it. Including all the forms that we've talked about. I'm sure Dave has talked about that ad nauseum in the past to submit the W-2s, 1099s. All that is still listed in our booklets as to when you need to submit it. Nothing has changed there. Continue to do whatever you're doing. Worst case scenario is if you didn't include something, we are going to write out and ask for it. It may cause a small delay in the processing of the return, but that is something that if you contact the Customer Experience Center and you get that submitted into us, we may be able to help and process that account right away for you. depending on the level of training the customer service representative you have has received at that time. All right. When to submit a W-2, I'm not going to go through all of these. I unfortunately are seeing people drop off the meeting, and that's hurting my feelings a little bit. Hopefully they have something really great to do, and I realize that this isn't exactly the most exciting presentation you guys have had
In their
because of the
defense,
least amount of...
in their defense, Dawn, most of them are coming back in again. I don't know why they're getting kicked out.
Okay, that's fine. And I take no offense. I've seen people walk out of the room while I'm talking. I just wanted to say that I'm not going to go through all of these items. You guys have heard this at nauseum in the past. It's there. You can continue to look at it. I want to take some time to actually get questions from you guys at the end of this, if we can. Property tax rent rebate. Sorry, this is active duty military. Forgive me, I was ahead of myself in my presentation. Remember to include W-2s and military orders for them. I don't know how many you really have that are coming in that are military. We do not want to like to harass and hound our military, but we have seen an active pickup in people over the years that try to say they're in the military and they're not, to not pay taxes, or people, I hate to say it this way, that were previously in the military and got used to not paying Pennsylvania personal income tax on their wages, and when they come out, they get a job in the private sector, they think that they still don't have to pay because they served at one time. That would be great if that was the case, but that's not how the tax law is. So we do require those military orders. If they're bringing that stuff in, fax that in or email it into us. That is great. For the resource accounts, they're all set up to do only read the attachments. If you type a notice into us or any information into the body of the email itself, we cannot read that. It doesn't come through. Just include any information you want as another page in what you're sending to us, and we should be good. A lot of practitioners say, well, I wrote this eloquent letter to you and I emailed it to you. Well, all that is automatically uploaded into the system. It just it uploads the attachment. It never looks at what is in the body of the email that was sent to us. So that is just kind of lost out there. You can submit it in later on when we ask for an explanation or something else, but again, it's not something we're going to see. For property tax rent rebate, what's new? I already talked about electronic filing. We realize that you will not stop everything you're doing while your customers are coming in and fill out a property tax rent rebate via MyPath. If the attached flyer, you guys are willing to use that in any location or all locations or whatever you're doing to hand to them and you want to print them and give it to them, that is great. If you want us to send things out, we will gladly look into printing them off and sending them to you. You just need to let us know what you need. Our goal is to get more people coming in electronically so that it's easier for them to track their status and see what's going on and for it to process, but we understand that may not happen. We will work with you in any way, shape, or form. Please let us know what you want to do. But you can view your submission and check the status of it through Where's My Refund, Where's My Rebate. So we would encourage anyone to do that as much as possible. Please let them know. For paper claim forms, this will affect you guys because you're printing these off. If the person received the claim in the previous year, they're going to receive a booklet and a label. If for any reason anything on that address label is wrong, do not use it. Please do not use it. We will send anything to that address or that information. And we've seen over the years where they moved, something changed, and it goes to the wrong location, especially if they're asking for a paper check rather than a direct deposit. And it gums up the whole works. So just verify that everything is right if you're using the label. Remember, even if you are using the label, you still have to put the Social Security number in for the taxpayer and their spouse at the top of the property tax rent rebate claim. That information is not coded in that label. So we still need that information. And then the school district and other information down below it. Anything that's not covered by the label still needs to be filled in. Just remember that. We encourage that you use PDFs as much as possible. You're already using those because you're printing this off from your software, so I'm not going to talk a lot about that. But please, again, make sure that with the property tax rent rebate, PA 1000 RC, that you check that calculation coming down and just make sure it mathematically works. Our system is very smart, very intelligent, but programmed to read those numbers to mathematically add up and work. If the numbers don't, it's going to cause a delay. That's the same on any of the alphabet schedules that come after it. We haven't seen a lot of problems with those yet this year. The rent certificate has been the largest one, but in the future, we will start to data capture more and more forms. So just make sure mathematically that does add up, subtract, multiply, divide, however you want to do it, that those calculations work. Legislative updates for you, very simple and easy. We do not consider any of the stimulus payments income for the PA 1000. ABLE distributions, all the qualified ABLE distributions for the Achieving a Better Life experience are not included as eligibility income for the property tax and rebate program. For this year, the application deadline has again expanded to December 31st. While that has happened every year, we would encourage you to remind people that it may not. June 30th is truly the deadline each year until it has been extended. So try to get as many of them in by June 30th as you possibly can. I doubt there will ever be a date when we don't extend it, but you just never know. And that may not be fun in the year that happens, because that would probably end up with about 100,000 people not being qualified. So to get a rebate. For forms and instruction changes, there's an additional item added to the listing of income that is not reported. I've already talked to you about that. That is the ABLE income is not to be included. The county code field, which last year was 3 digits, or sorry, country code was 3 digits, is now 2 digits. That information will be out there. TaxSlayer should already have that there for you. If the country code, just so you also realize, isn't required if the person is living in the United States and has lived in the United States all year. If the person lived in the United States for 8 months and then moved to, let's say, Italy, and that's where they're going to live from now on. Because of changes to the property tax on rebate program for that first part of the year, they're still eligible for the rebate, and they apply. But if that check is being mailed to a foreign country, you need to have that country code. Please make sure that that is included in those situations. Other than that, you don't need to include it. Again, don't know how many clients you have that are going to be affected by this, but just making sure that you are aware. The rent certificate, I've already talked about that ad nauseum on making sure that that is filled out and that it is there. If the person has changed rental locations, you need to include a unique rent certificate for each location they live. You can either, if the rent changed and they stayed in the same location, you can either use rent certificates and prorate it per each period of it to show it so that it comes through, or you do the calculations on the side. I do not know how TaxSlayer does that piece of it for you, so I can't tell you, but if you have any questions or concerns, you can always come back and ask us. We will gladly help out. For housing authorities, some of you may have individuals, I'm sorry, again, I'm jumping ahead in my mind here, because I just looked at my time and thought, oh, I'm coming close. Again, we've talked about the rent certificate. These need to be fully completed. That's why in my mind I'm ahead. So for housing authorities, if they're unable to obtain a signature from the housing authority to include with their rental certificate or to put on there, the letter from the housing authority that they have needs to contain the following information: the name and address of the claimant, the name and address, building name, federal tax ID number, telephone number of the county authority that has, that they're living in, the date and amount of each payment that is being made. A statement from the authority was required to make a payment in lieu of taxes, and original signature from a representative of the authority. Those are requirements that have kind of been in place. We wanted to emphasize that. There have been some issues this year because of going into the new system and us questioning things a little bit more than what we have in the past. So just making sure that that is available. If for some reason all this information comes in and you feel comfortable with it, I would encourage you to just submit it to us. If you're not sure, we will question it if we have concerns. Okay. Again, I know that the original signature of the representative of the authority, you're not going to know who that is. Okay. But if there is a signature on there and information about it, please just send the information in. We will question anything we need to. Where I guess I'm basically going is, do not hold up the processing or the submission of the rebate claim if you're unsure of this. If you think it is a fraudulent submission, then of course hold it up. But if everything looks good, but you're not sure that, hey, wait a second, it has the amounts of all the payments, but for 12 payments, but it doesn't have the date of each individual payment, again, submit it into us. We will question it if we have any concerns about it. All right. Common filing errors. Again, Social Security income is one of the errors of not being reduced. Your software is going to do that. I don't think that it's a large issue for you. Receipted tax bills, always something that we have required for the program. Please make sure that you have them. We would prefer always a receipted tax bill from the taxing authority rather than a copy of the tax bill and copies of canceled checks. I'm not saying we will not accept a copy of a canceled check in addition to the tax bill coming in. What I would say is, if that is the way you want to do the proof of it, I would scan those two documents in if you can, if you're making copies of them for them, and put them on the same page so that it's easier for our examiner to see it in one location, and not that the tax bill is attachment 1 and the check is attachment 5. Make it easier for our people to do. They should be looking at things, but every single one of you have seen places or times when we have not done what was logical. The claim forms, again, do not use the label if it is wrong. If you're filling out anything by hand, which I will assume you will not, make sure that you clearly print in the information on the form so that so it's easy to be able to read by our scanners. If you're filing on behalf of a decedent under Section 2, number 3, the line item previously, many years ago, used to be, are you receiving a property tax? Is this the first year you received a property tax refund rebate, or have you received a property tax refund rebate in the past? If your software is accidentally checking that, please don't. Because we have questioned a lot of people that we thought were filing on behalf of decedents, but both people were still alive per Social Security records or per records that we have access to. And we were wondering what the heck was going on. And we've questioned a lot of things that we shouldn't have. So please make sure that if you're filing on behalf of the decedent that you're checking those numbers. But if you're not checking that, if you're not filing on behalf of the decedent, do not check that information. Please make sure that your software is not just carrying something through. TaxSlayer is usually a good one. I don't believe that's the case. But again, just asking you. And then always remember, when you're printing this out and submitting it to us, that claim form needs to be signed by the claimant, and the rent certificate needs to have its correct signatures on it also. All right. The last thing, a couple of things we're going to talk about here real quick. Our customer service numbers are still the same, 888-222-9190 for general assistance for property tax and rebate. The online customer service center is there to help you. That link is right available on our webpage. Nothing has changed in that. Our last little bit of information, though, is going to be on the fraud detection and analysis unit. What I'm going to tell you is there are 3 types of letters that go out. I mentioned the first 2, the identity verification and the ID validation quiz earlier. If you have a client that gets one of these letters from us, we are requesting this because something looked wrong or something didn't match up with data that we have. What do I mean by this? The taxpayer, if their account was breached somewhere along the way, and they may not even know about it, we may be asking them to verify who they are just because we just want to make sure. Okay? Simple thing, you're going to get the letter. We mailed it to their home address that we have on record. We're giving them a code. Here you go. Okay? Identity validation quiz, same thing. That's a little bit more of the next step. We want to validate that they are who they say they are and that they can answer these questions. Go in for personal income tax, answer the questions and do it. We encourage no preparer to do this for their client. Please don't. If you mess this up for them, then what happens is they get the identity validation unsuccessful letter. And then there's a whole list of things that they must provide. We have seen preparers, and again, not something that ARP has had an issue with, at least not that we're aware of. But we've seen preparers that go in and start thinking they can start to answer these questions for the person, and they get that account locked up, and then their client has to submit a whole lot of information. When the preparer calls us and says, hey, can you unlock this? I accidentally did it. No, there is nothing we can do. The taxpayer now has to submit all that documentation. So please, just make sure that you know that these things are going out and that they should go on to do it. Now, if they come to your ARP site and you want to help them while they're there, go through this, that is your call, completely up to you, whatever you're allowed to by your rules. But again, do not do this on their behalf. This is a copy of what the identity verification letter looks like. You're going to see on it that what we have encircled down at the bottom. All they have to do is go right to the MyPass site, enter that code, and then boom. It's going to tell them that thank you for verifying. Everything is good. We are moving along the way. If they get to an identity verification quiz, they're going to be told what they need to have in order to take the quiz, and then they're going to answer a couple of questions. They'll receive a confirmation if they passed it, and we will continue to process. And then for the identity validation being unsuccessful, you're going to see that we're going to require a copy of a birth certificate, social security card, driver's license, a utility bill, and the last 4 digits of the bank account used for the direct deposit, if that is applicable with the department. You're going to see that that is getting a lot more in depth. We are now worried that their identity has been stolen, and we want to make sure that we are refunding any money to the correct person. So that's what we have going on for the year. I thank you very, very much for your time. I know I'm ending just a few minutes earlier, and I was hoping to be done a little bit earlier than this. But I will gladly take any questions that anybody has. For some reason, it is weird that there's the chat came back. When my system went a little haywire, I did not see the chat for a while. So, okay, so PJ Mahoney has raised their hand. PJ, what's your question?
Go ahead and unmute.
Do I have to click like open queue or something here, Pat?
No, she has to
Okay.
unmute herself.
Okay.
I was typing. I forgot we could use the microphone. Regarding the rent rebates, what if someone didn't pay their rent because they weren't able to be evicted and either got or did not get the money to, pay their landlord? Is there any change in that, or are they allowed to apply if they didn't pay it, or are they allowed to apply if they did pay it using the government money but not their own money?
So if they didn't pay it, no, they can't apply. So that's about the best thing I can say. And I can't see where a landlord would sign off on that rent certificate if they never got their payment. If they paid it using the government money, I believe, truthfully, I won't lie, this is the first time this question has been asked of me. I would have believed that they still can't apply. So it would come down to, you may have to put in the calculation as to how much they received, because I truly don't know. Did they receive like 100% of their rent, or are they receiving only a portion, similar to what other subsidies are?
Yeah, I don't know, because my tenant that never did follow through with his application. The landlords all got screwed on this, but
Okay.
I don't know. I thought since it was a rebate, how can you get a rebate of something you never paid, you know?
Well, if you didn't pay it, no, you can't. Once again,
But
if
I mean, if you didn't pay it with your own money, it's not a rebate either, is it?
no. And you know what? We will get you more information on that one. I apologize for not being able to answer that question.
I always ask the one that never came up.
That's okay. Again, like I said, that is, oh, sorry, lost my screen there.
All right, well, thank you. We probably won't run into it too much, but I was just curious, because I'm sure, like you said, landlord probably wouldn't sign off on it unless maybe they paid 2 or 3 months and then didn't pay the rest, you know, so they
Right.
might sign off on what they did pay. So I wasn't sure how to handle that.
No, we will find an answer for that and get it off to you guys, because I guarantee that it's going to be coming up. I'm amazed, though, that has not come up yet. So, all right, so Reader S is now asking a question. Thank you, PJ.
Hi, Donald. How you doing?
Good. I feel like a DJ,
All right, cool.
like as a thing, at a psychology thing or whatever else. I'm not really sure. So how can I help you?
2 quick questions on the property rent rebate. I have people come in, have a rent certificate from subsidized housing. Can they still claim the property rent rebate?
So for subsidized housing, there's part of that form that shows where they deduct the amount that subsidized housing paid.
Okay,
And then they can go for the difference on that.
okay. Second question, tax forgiveness.
Yes.
I have seniors coming in who the only income they have for the state and federal is like $3 in dividends, $3 in interest. So the only way to get the state to forgive it is to do the tax forgiveness. If they would just let that go, is there a ceiling or a limit that the state won't come back on them? Let's say they owe $3, so we don't.
Remember when I talked about the 15,000 or 17,000 letters we're mailing out to people that maybe do
Right.
some money? Yeah, that's the reason why we're mailing those letters out potentially. Because there are people with small amounts like that we have the withholding for that looks like they are due that small amount, and we're writing out to them. So
Okay.
there's no way at this moment in time to get away from that. So I apologize. I wish there was. I like where your mind is going, but yeah, not that I'm aware of at the moment. So
One more question while I'm thinking about it. You talk about you got lawyers and accountants coming up with these. Why not, when you have a task force put together, ask for some users to get involved and get some feedback from them, the people like us that are out there meeting, for 3 months with these people just to get feedback. So, make life a little easier for us.
So what I'll say is that's a great idea. Unfortunately, what I'll say is not at all times does the Department of Revenue follow through with great ideas. So what I will say to you is, and anyone else on this, if we were talking in person, I would be telling you, if you have ideas, let us know what they are, because we get a lot more action if you send us an email making a suggestion or whatever else, that we can take it back to a group and start to sit down. It may be stuff that we've suggested 30, 40, 50 times. there have been many times that I've gone into rooms and said, this is what we should be doing, and they don't do it. And then somebody submits a question via our website to the secretary and says, why don't we do this? And they're like, oh my God, let's do this. So, and I apologize because I also said I would give everyone my email address, which I sometimes regret, but this has been a fun group so far. So it's very simple. You just use the first letter of my first name, D, my last name, BIANCHI@pa.gov. Pat can send that out to anybody and everybody that she needs to after this, and I will gladly help. Any ideas that you guys submit to us, any improvements for forms and instructions, I will make sure that they get to the right people, or from what my people handle, we will make sure that that happens. If there are any questions on a client's tax return or something like that, there's a small case you may hear back from me, but most likely I'm going to send that off to one of my subject matter experts and let them respond to you, and we'll get back to you that way. So, was there anything else? Is it Reader?
Yes.
Okay.
No, that's it. Thank you, Don.
Okay, not a problem. So thank you very, very much. Thank you for your participation. And Pat G has her hand raised.
Hi, my issue with forms ordering is not forms, but envelopes for the PA 1000. And I understand that you want to encourage them to file this electronically, but frankly, that's not going to happen for a while.
Understand.
It just went on to the forms ordering, and you have a limit of 50, where you have no limit for the whole booklet. This is counterproductive.
Has it been that way every year?
I think at one point we did not have a limit on the envelopes, but I see it's back again.
Okay.
I assume you understand the issue is, these envelopes are a small thing. That whole booklet, which you're not limiting the order on, is, much more expensive.
Oh, I fully grasp that, the whole concept. Okay, Pat, so do me a favor. I gave you my email address. Send me an email telling me how many envelopes you're looking at. I'm going to see if I can get those sent off to you. Let me know where I need to send them to, everything else that you need. And I will talk with the people and explain the issue that this is causing and see what we can do about getting it fixed.
Okay, thank you, because I like to order for our district so that, we don't have multiple communications.
Not a problem. We will see what we can do.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Rick. I'm not even going to try to say your last name, Rick. I have
Just
no
the way
clue.
it's spelled, Godsville.
Okay.
You were discussing the cash payments for rent or government rent assistance.
Yeah.
And I would believe that amount would have to go on line 11D on the PA 1000 where it says cash public assistance / relief.
So I'm going to say I would agree with you, but I'm not positive with these subsidies. I'll call them subsidies of part during this pandemic. So let us take a look at that and get back to you,
Okay.
you guys on it. But I would agree, and that may be where your software goes to put it in at, but I want to make sure we get you the best answer. And I'm actually completely embarrassed that I never even thought about that. So completely cannot believe that never occurred to me in any way, shape, or form. So, but thank you. Anything else, Rick?
No, that's all.
Cool, thank you very much. Anyone else?
Well, it doesn't look like there is anyone else, Dawn, so I really appreciate that you and Alicia came today and did this presentation. It was very enlightening for me. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. And again, I realize, and I'll apologize, that I'm thankful that there were not a lot of forms and tax law changes and everything else this year to worry about. It's always nice for us when that doesn't occur, but I also do realize that takes away from the meat and potatoes of what these sessions are usually about. But I did want to make sure I had enough time to talk with all of you see what your questions are. And again, while we do not conduct a survey through you guys, I don't know if ARP will do a survey of what we did, but you have our email address for mine and Outreach Education. I see that Alicia's put those in there. If there is something that we covered that was completely worthless to you, feel free to let us know. If there's something you want more information about, let us know. If there's something you want before the filing season goes, like a MyPath demonstration, we'll send information out when we go to do these things and when we know this. We'll keep you guys on. And Pat, I'm going to assume you're going to be our contact for this
Yes,
kind of information and can push it out.
yes.
That's great. But again, let us know what we can do to better serve you. You are a great stakeholder for us, doing a phenomenal job, and truly, of all the stakeholders that I've ever, this is my first time dealing with you, but in all my stakeholders of dealing with the other professional accounting organizations and so on, from all my time when processing individual tax returns and everything else, you guys are the least problematic. Okay, you're not causing a ton of issues, you're not causing a ton of things. So you're a great stakeholder to work with. Not that we don't try to help them, but we've extended out to them like crazy. And I want to make sure that we're doing the same for you. So if there is stuff that you need, please let us know. If you don't, we're never going to know about it. We're going to assume everything is good, but we want to be here to help you. And if you need something more than this one session a year, also let us know on that. We'll be glad to work with you guys. So just tell us what you need. We're the government and we're here to help.
Thank you very much.
All right.
At this time, I'm going to release the two of you, and then I have a few things that I need to say to the rest of the group.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
All right, we
Thank
are
you.
over our time limit for today, and so with that in mind, we will pick up tomorrow morning, and I will try to get everything squeezed into 2 hours tomorrow morning. See you at 10 o'clock back here in this room tomorrow. Rita, your hand is up.
Pat, real quick, just to let everybody know that I have 4 Chromebooks that I will not be using this year. So if any of you people need them, would you please let me know and I'll be glad to ship them to you.
Okay, Rita, is it okay if I send out your email address the next time I send a group
that's fine.
email?
Yep. Yeah, I just wanted to give a broadcast message.
Good, that's fine. No, that's fine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other
Rita?
questions or concerns for the good of this order?
Reader, that's something I'm going to mention in my tech presentation about distributing resources to districts in need. Okay?
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Pat or Trish.
All right.
All right, see you back tomorrow here at 10.
Thank you, Pat.